Hey everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and we are still working on Hortensia, and we are on to page 2. And this is going to be a fun page. It's going to be a little bit complicated, but I like this. I've done it in some other albums before. I think it makes for a really interesting, interactive feature in your album. So I'm going to try to recall as I'm going through this where the papers have come from. And I'm looking at this. This is from the 8x8. This is the 12x12 scale. So this is from the 8x8, and I've just trimmed down both sides. My goal was to try to center this this Baroque feature here. And then these two strips have come from the edge of the cut aparts on the 12x12. So these two are from the 12x12. And if you look at the cut aparts on one side, I think it's either the front, it's the back of the album. And so I just took these two strips and they just happen to fit here perfectly, and that's what we're going to use. I try to use every element, even pieces of the cover and the back. I just think it's the paper's usually too pretty to waste, and I think it makes a great border piece. So make sure, I'm just going to double check, your pockets are going left to right, and then I'm going to place the blue stripe toward the center of the paper, or toward the center of the pocket page. But it works either way. Okay. Okay, here we go. Now the next part, I'm going to set this aside for a second. We're going to go over how to build the next part. It's going to actually get inserted right in this area. So that's kind of why I wanted two border pieces. The design feature is going to fit right here on this cardstock. Set that aside. Now what you're going to need to start with is two 5 1/4 by 8. So this 5 1/4 by 8, you're going to need two of those. And then you're going to need two 5 1/4 by 9. 5 1/4 by 9. And on the 9-inch side, you're going to score 1/2 inch, 4 1/2, and 8 1/2. 1/2 inch, 4 1/2, and 8 1/2. And then when you fold it in half, you should wind up with two flanges that you're going to fold out. You're going to do that 2 times. Okay, so you've got 2 of these now. They look like so. Okay. We are going to attach these to this paper right here, and we're going to put the flanges toward the center of the page. So I'm basically taking this corner, marrying it up with the corner of this 5 1/4 by 8 inch. I'm just going to lay that down flat. I'm going to take the tape backing off and lay this down. So that is what we're doing here. And let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to line it up down here on the bottom, corner to corner, straight across, and then I'm going to press it down into place. I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to do the same thing one more time. Now, you don't have to have this back piece, and I'll explain that in just a minute. I do it because I think it makes it easier to build the element, and I'll explain that in a second. Okay, so this is going to go like so. I didn't get that in straight, sorry. Much better. Okay, goes just like that. Now this last 5 1/4 by 8 is gonna go right on top like so. And then when we open it, it's going to do that for us. Did I do this right? Every time I do this feature, I have to rethink it, but I think I've got it right. It's not very intuitive. All right, well, I'm gonna leave one on and then I'll come back and take the other one off, okay? So I'm going to actually line up these corners and lay it down and press it into place this way. Maybe. It actually grabbed before I was ready. that's not right. That is not right. Let me start over. Okay, so I made a mistake and it grabbed the tape too soon, but I'm going to show you where we're headed and then we'll make the next one straight. When we're finished, we're going to have this element and it's going to lay right here on top of this page. And when I say this element is going to open like so, and then it will also open this way. And so you'll have all these areas for photos. Now, when I put this together real quick, it caught the tape before I was ready, and so this is not flush. So we're gonna do that again. And I already have another one cut because we're also doing the same design feature on page 7. So I'm just gonna pull up page 7. We're gonna do that right now, and then I'll replace page 7 when I'm ready. Okay, so again, you're gonna take these two corners, line it up to the edge, and then just lay this down flat, like so. And we're gonna do the same thing, these two corners, the score line toward the edge. Okay, so those are in place. That looks pretty good. And now the top piece is gonna go just like so. So the key is gonna be to get it to lay down flat before I take the tape off. So I'm just laying it in place. I'm gonna roll it back. I'm gonna peel off the tape on one side. This needs to be flat. Lay it into place, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. Go ahead and peel that tape off. Easier said than done. Now I want this to lay down flat as I come across, so I'm just holding it into place. Okay, there we go. All right, so now you have this, what looks like this when you're finished. Okay, so those are the two pieces with the flanges that attach to just the flat pieces. Now the back piece is really not necessary because it's going to get installed here. So you could actually put these two pieces. This piece could represent this piece, but I do it offline just because I find it to be simple to handle, and then it makes it very easy for me to take the whole design feature and center it on the page. So that is what I'm going to do. This is also an opportunity to look at all your sides and see if they're even. If you've got anything laying over, you can trim off the edge, just straighten it out right now. And I think it looks pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. Okay. I got a little bit of overhang down here. So I'm going to trim off just this little piece, which is the flat piece. So I'm going to trim off a little just to make it a little cleaner. There. And so now it's nice and flush. So I just took this little piece and trimmed it. I'm looking all the way around it. Looks very good now, so I'm going to lay it down. Okay, now I'm just looking to center it between these two pieces, and it's going to slightly, in this case, it's going to slightly overlap it. Very, very slightly. Okay. Now we're going to put some glue on it and glue the whole thing down. Okay, I'm just going to burnish that into place for a second. That's going to be my designer piece. Now the next thing we need to do is figure out how we're going to keep all this closed. Okay. Okay, so now as you can see, it opens like this. This gives us 4 photo spots, and it opens like this, and that gives us 4 photo spots. So it's not really a waterfall. I think I call it a flip pop, but I'm sure it's got some sort of name. I don't know what it is. That's what I'm gonna call it for now. So what I need to do is get some magnets on here now. And I remember doing this a while ago, and it is a little tricky to get your magnets all in the right spot. But I think we're gonna be okay. Okay, I think I'm gonna use 3 magnets per side. It's a little unusual, but it's a lot of layers of paper. The other thing you could do is you could do a ribbon across the whole design feature. So that's gonna hold this in place. Okay, so I've got one on the very top and on the very bottom, and I really don't think that's going to be enough. Once we get a layer of cards, designer paper here, 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 and here, that's a lot of paper to pass through. So I'm going to go ahead and add an additional magnet here. I think I'm going to put it here. So now when I close it, it's going to grab. Yeah, that feels nice and strong now. So there we go. So we've got a magnet here, skip one, magnet, and a magnet. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing on the flip side. So I'm going to turn the whole thing upside down. And we're gonna put 3 magnets on this side. That's a lot of magnets, but it's kind of a special feature, so I don't feel so bad about that. It's odd to do 3, not 4 magnets, but I like it. There we go. So there's our 3 magnets, one on the top, one on the third, and one on the fourth. Okay, and we've done it both going up and coming down. Now right at the moment, this you could put, either side is up or down, right? So it just opens up and down. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're going to decorate this. So the piece of paper that I've selected for the cover is this. And then I'm gonna probably put an embellishment on top of this. I just don't know what yet, okay. And this is from the 8x8. Isn't that lovely? Okay, so that is page 2, at least the A side. So now I'm gonna need to take a minute and trim out all my B sides, which will be a total of 8 little panels that need to go here. So I will be back when I've got those trimmed out. Hey everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Crate, and we are going to continue working on page 2, and I've trimmed out my the pieces that are going to, the mats that are going to go inside the flip pop mechanism, and I am having a hard time coming up with a name for this feature, but that's what I'm going to call it for now. I do think I'm gonna have to do a little bit of trimming. Maybe not. This one looks right anyway. Okay, let's plan our layout. So I've got these pieces, and I can't remember which way is up and which way is down. I think that goes like that. And I think I was planning on putting the purples on the end, just like so. Okay, now that's one look. The other would be to run my purples in the center and have my pattern on the outside. Oh, what do I want? I think I want this together because this is a continuous pattern. All right. So now this opens up both ways. So it goes up and then it closes and comes down. So you've got 4 of these panels that need to be covered. And I don't think I've inked these, but let's go ahead and get these in. So, like I said, I haven't done this feature in a long time. I like it. I think it's fun. It's kind of the same idea as a waterfall, you know, where you get, you know, multiple photos on one page, but it's a little bit different, a little bit more interesting, I think. All right, it's another hot, humid day here in San Diego. It's 10 o'clock in the morning and already the air is cranking away because it's so hot. Had unseasonably, well, I guess it's about the right temperature for the time of year, but it's unusually humid. And we still have all the fires raging here in California. Thankfully, not close to us, but unfortunate for a lot of other people. It's a tough time of the year for us here in California, fire-wise. Okay, that's one. I think this is a little too tight. So you want to make sure you're trimming these out so there's no interference with the score line so that it'll close and stay flat for you. I'm going to go ahead and trim just a little bit off this one. And I said a little bit, it's probably like a 1/36 of an inch. And for some reason my trimmer did not want to go straight, so. Occasionally my trimmer folds the paper down. And that's no good. Yeah, I still need a little more. Oh, I think that did it. Yep. One more time before I put glue on it. Looks good. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just pressing the tape down so that it's easier. The backing will release easier and I don't pull up the tape. You can do that with a bone folder as well. I just use my pick tool since it's such a small space that I'm trying to burnish. So I'm excited to tell you graphic collections are coming very, very soon. So I've already started planning what I'm going to do with those 2 new collections. So one of them's Ephemera Queen and one is, I think it's Christmas time. I can't remember the name of it. It's a Christmas collection. And I'm excited to be working with both. I am going to probably do 2 different sizes. And at the moment, I'm planning on a larger size for the Christmas album. So maybe 8.5 by 10.5 and a smaller, probably 8.5 by 8.5 for the Ephemera Queen. So I'm pretty excited. Those are coming very soon. Hey, and since I'm in the planning stage, you guys leave me some comments below. How do you feel about folios? So far I have none. If you guys are interested in folios, let me know. I'm happy to make those. Not everybody who does albums cares for the folios. Sometimes they don't hold quite as many photos. But I'm happy to do that. If you guys are interested, I can create some folios. And if I did, they would probably be, 8 by 10, larger scale, since it's really just a trifold. So in order to get more photos in, I'd probably do a larger scale project. But let me know in the comments. You guys can also scoot on over to our Facebook group, Scrap and Create, and let me know over there too. So, and if you haven't been over to our Facebook group, take a look at what's going on over there. We've got, we're growing a community, and we've got you guys out there sharing your projects, and we think that's awesome. So please take a look. We welcome anybody sharing a project that features paper that we sell in our shop. And so that would be anything Graphic 45, Ciaobella, Stamperia. Those are our primary paper lines. So if you've got a project, it doesn't have to be one of our tutorials, and you're using those papers, come on over and share it. And then also we're looking for people to do, knowledge sharing. So you can ask questions and sort of rely on the community to answer some of your questions. Because I certainly can answer, but it's going to be based on my experience, and everybody's experience is going to be a little bit different. So I think the more the merrier. And I mentioned this in my last tutorial video, but I'm using the art glitter glue, and during the winter we cannot ship art glitter glue. We can't purchase art glitter glue. They don't ship it. So if you guys have not stocked up, think about stocking up. We've already been given a heads up from Art Glitter Glue that they are going to have some supply chain issues getting inventory in to get shipped back out. So we do have some in stock, but at some point it's going to become hard to get anywhere. Okay, so look how pretty that turned out. So we've got these 4 photo mats. Okay, we're going to close this. And then we are going to flip it over. And then we're going to keep in mind that it is now upside down. So all of our images on this side need to go in upside down. And I just noticed I only have 2 pieces over here for some reason. Oh, here they are. I was going to say I'm short 2 pieces, but here they are. So I gotta shuffle them around and try to remember the order that I was working in. Okay, so this is looks like it came from the same piece. And then I've got this. So what do I want to do? I think I might want to do, but I'm not positive, this. Actually, that's the way it goes. Okay, so I knew I had a continuous pattern somewhere. I just didn't know where. Okay, there we go. That's the order I'm going to put it in. So now everything I just did, I put in right side up. So I got to look and see if there's words and make sure I get them turned upside down. Okay, because we've got the whole page is upside down. And there's just a few little words here. And this is a continuous pattern as well. So I'm going to close it, just verify I got everything in the right orientation. So that's right side up. Let's look at it before we glue it down. It's going to go like that and like that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and keep it in the right orientation for now. And it looks like I need to do some trimming. Okay. I kind of rough cut these last night to finish up this page. And I was getting a little blurry-eyed, which makes it hard for me to see my little marks. So you guys bear with me. while we wrap this up. Let's see how that fits. Looks good. Verify my pattern is continuous. It is. It's not that significant, but you got a minute, it's not glued down, why not check? I just noticed something. This is upside down. So I'm gonna have to switch it this way. Yee! Okay. I had this upside down. And how do I know that? It's because I was looking at the back. So it actually goes this way. So I'm gonna work quickly and switch gears and get it in up here before my glue dries. Okay, I'm gonna scoot this down because I can't really see the edges. Okay, that's in. Now let's get this in. But I think I might need to trim it. I do. Okay. I think I got them trimmed the right width, but not the right height. I just did a rough cut at 4 inches and it needed to be 3 7/8 because I'm doing a 1/16 inch border. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So I don't do a cut list for the designer paper, and I don't for a couple reasons. One is not everybody wants a 1/16 inch border, which is what I do. So if I gave you a cut list for a 1/16 inch border and you didn't like it, you'd have to adjust your cut list, your cut anyway. So what I tell people is basically this is what I consider a finished panel, meaning it's less any hinge that's been attached. And so you take your finished panel. So in the case of a 6.5 by 4 flap, you're gonna score 1/2 inch on the 6.5 inch side, fold it under, and then you're gonna wind up with a 4 by 6 finished panel. So I take that 4 by 6 number and I back off the size of my, the border that I want. So in the case of a 1/16 inch border, it's a 1/16 here and a 1/16 here, and if you combine those, it's an 1/8 of an inch. So that means I need this piece to be an 1/8 of an inch narrower and shorter, and then when I center it on my panel, I get a 1/16 inch border. If you want an 1/8 inch, you're going to make it a 1/4 inch smaller and then center it, and then you'll wind up with an 1/8 on each side. So it's really depends on what kind of a border you want in your book. That's why I don't give cut lists for the designer paper. The other reason I don't give cut lists for designer paper is that is where all your money is. So you really need to think about what you're doing when you're cutting your designer paper, and not just going off a list and only to be frustrated at the end because you've already cut through all your paper. You don't have a chance to check, double check, double check if you just go off a cut list and cut everything in advance. So it's, in my mind, it's simpler as far as trying to instruct somebody, but I think it has a lot of room for, you know, errors, and you can't recover from cut paper. I mean, once it's cut, it's cut. So even when I try to cut in advance, for example, I cut some of these in advance, and here's how my thought process is I rough cut these to the width and height. So I cut them the same size as the panel. The panel is 5 1/4 by 4. So when I'm doing my paper planning, I cut these at 5 1/4 by 4, knowing I'm gonna have to take an 1/8 inch off the side and the top. But I've got a piece set aside that won't get repurposed, but I know it's not, I haven't undercut it. I know that I'll always, you know, at the worst, cut a little bit more off, but I won't have to worry about trying to fill a gap. So that's my thought process behind why I don't give cut lists for the designer paper, and how the method that you can use to come up with what the designer paper cut list should be. So again, all you have to do is measure the finished panel that you're working on and back off the height and width, depending on the size of the border you want. And hopefully that makes sense. But I have heard horror stories where people go through and cut everything in advance, and then they're disappointed. I mean, we're all human. The designers could actually have made an error in the cut list in the first place. So this way, it's up to you how you want to fill that blank space, you know, and you don't even have to use one panel. You could be cutting multiple pieces and color blocking to cover that space. And then trying to do a cut list for color blocking is just, wow, that's just crazy difficult. So most of you have done this and you understand that. There are some new people who are looking for that level of detail, but it's really hard to provide. I think there are some simpler albums to cut your teeth on. This one's not too bad, but there are some out there, and they're even labeled as such, beginner, you know, to get your confidence up. That's what I did, and I built, I don't know, 3 or 4 albums with sort of low budget papers, which, by the way, turned out great. But I just didn't have the confidence to spend the kind of money that it takes to put together a graphic album until I knew I had some of these techniques down. So it's something to think about. But it was also back a long time ago when it was easy to get paper at the box stores. Now, at least the ones by me, they don't really have much to choose from at all from a paper pad perspective. Okay, that's it. So that is the end of page 2, and I think it turned out beautifully. Okay, when we get back, we will continue working on the album. Be back soon. Hey everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and we are working on Hortensia, and we're on page 3, and I am going to do a double pocket on page 3, and I'm going to do the same thing on page 7. So I'd already gone ahead and cut, trimmed out, and taped paper for both pages, and I'm going to go over one of them with you right now. So what we're going to start with is we are going to start with a 4.5 by 9 inch piece of paper. We're going to score it a 1/2 inch on 3 of the 4 sides. That's going to be our base pocket. And then we're going to have a taller tuck spot just above it. And this is 2.5 by 9, 2.5 by 9. And you're only going to score 2 sides. So then when this is installed, you're going to have 4, this is going to stop at 4, 6, and then of course the page is 8 inches tall. Now, in order to prevent buildup of these 2 things being stacked on top of each other, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 2.5 inch one and I'm going to miter 2 of the corners. And once I miter the 2 corners, it's going to slip into the bottom pocket and stop just where I need it to. So that's how we're going to do that. And then these are both going to get attached to the page like so. So how did I come up with this miter? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to take your 2.5 by 9 and you're going to come in a 1/2 inch from the bottom. And you're going to put a little tick mark. And then you're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. You're going to come in, I'm just using the grid. You can use a ruler. Come up a 1/2 inch, and then I've got a little tick mark right here. And oops, I did that on the wrong side. It's supposed to be on this side, so hang tight. And I'm gonna have one right here. Let me erase that. I had my paper turned the wrong way. So there's a tick mark here and here. Now what we're gonna do is take our scissors, we're gonna place our scissors right on that tick mark and just cut a slight diagonal like so. And you're gonna do the same thing on the other side. It's easier to cut from the tick mark down so that you don't overcut. Now you'll see once you open up your flaps, you've got these two little pieces. We're just gonna go ahead and miter those off. Like so. Okay, so these two flaps are gonna go down. This piece is gonna slip right inside the pocket. So I went ahead and trimmed out, and I did it for both pages. So here, so that's for page 7. This is going to be for page 3. So I'm going to start by adding this pocket to the base page. I'm going to take off the 2 score tapes. I'm going to slip it inside the pocket and then tape these 2 sides down. So that's how we're going to do page 3 and page 7. That's not my pick tool. Here it is. Here it is. It's a pick tool, but it's sharp, which I don't want. It's too easy to tear the tape or the paper. Okay, come on, there we go. Okay, again, we're on page 3. Make sure your pocket is on your base page is to the left and right. Okay, now we're going to slip this inside the pocket, just like so. Okay, and we're going to remove those 2 tape tabs. And that is how we keep from having a buildup of the score lines on top of each other. Okay. Now I'm just going to hold the tape up off until I get this slipped into place. And then I'll press the sides down. Oops, it slipped on me. It did not go in straight, so I'm going to pull that up with a spatula real quick. It slipped. Okay, it tore a little bit of the paper, but that's okay because we're just going to lay it right back down. So it's going to get covered up when we're finished. But what happened is it torqued a little bit. So I'm going to slip it in and try again. Okay, there we go. So those are in now. I'm going to burnish that into place. Okay, and you can see that that top pocket is slightly inside. So now we have room. We have a pocket that goes all the way to the bottom and one that stops short. Okay. So that is page 3, and I am going to take a break, get my papers trimmed and inked, and I'll be right back to decorate this page. Hey everyone, it's Daphne, and we are working on page 3. And page 3 has got these 2 pockets, and so I've taken one of the 8x8 images, and you can use almost the entire image intact. You just have to take an 1/8 inch off the top and side. if you're going to do a 1/16 inch border like me, and then you're going to slice the other two pieces. So I started by trimming this piece, then this, then this. So I went from the bottom to the top. And actually what I did is I made it an 1/8 inch narrower, but I kept it fully 8 inches because I knew I'd want just a teeny bit to tuck inside the pockets. And if we went ahead and trimmed it down a little bit smaller, it would be hard to have that little bit of excess that'll go in the pocket. So there are our 3 pieces, and I'm going to start by attaching the bottom one, and we'll go from the bottom to the top. And so the idea here is you've got this fully intact design when you take everything out of the pockets. So when you have it in the pockets, you get this pretty little pocket and then whatever's covering up here, but then as you take elements out of your pocket, it is going to show you a complete design. So that's kind of the idea behind this. Okay, I'm actually going to turn this sideways so I can see the edges a little better. Okay, and this is going to tuck ever so slightly into the pocket, just ever so slightly because of the size of the paper. That's just the way it works out. So I'm using my bone folder to go across the edges just to make sure that everything is down and that it's actually tucked inside the pocket. And then this is our last piece. So very simple page, but lots of storage in this page. Okay. There is page 3. And that is it for page 3. So I'm going to have some large inserts in here, and I don't think I have any trimmed out at the moment, but what I'm planning on doing is, since this is 4 inches, I'm going to have an insert that's 5 inches, and then I'm going to have another insert up here that's 7 inches. So what will look like is, and I'll go ahead and trim those out right now, I think. It'll look like a 1 inch stagger between each element. So let's see, we did 4, so we want 5 and 7. So we'll do 5. So I'm going to put, this is what my plan is at the moment, a 5 by 7 insert here. And then I want to do a 7 by 7 insert there. There we go, 7 by 7. And so you can see that you get this nice little stack, and it's getting stuck actually on the flange down here, so it needs to go in a little bit further. There we go. Anyways, I'm going to decorate these. I also may change my mind and decide to do graphic tags. I haven't really made up my mind, but there'll definitely be 2 layers of inserts here. So again, this is page 3.